Welcome to the Midnight Gathering with Nancy Nightmare
and the Wizard.
Journey with us where the bizarre,
the mysterious, and the macabre meet.
So we're going to do this podcast. It's a new thing we're doing. And we wanted to basically just kind of invite you into what we do, which is watch horror movies and talk about the occult.
All right, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. So in this episode, we're going to talk about The Exorcist, its cultural impact, and about the dark historical connections that tie it to reality.
Oh boy, you're in for a big treat.
Okay, let's hope so.
Big treat.
Big treat. The film was adapted from William Peter Blatty's 1971 novel by the same name. Aspects of Blatty's novel were inspired by the 1949 exorcism of Ronald Doe, guessing that was not his real name.
Probably not.
Performed by Jesuit priest William S. Bodern. It sold poorly until Blatty captivated the Dick Cavett Show's audience in 1971 with a discussion of whether the devil existed. Soon afterwards, the novel topped the New York Times bestseller list. No press is bad press. That's what I always say. Not true, but...
Originally released December 26, 1973, directed by William Friedkin, The Exorcist tells the horrifying story of a young girl, Reagan, who begins to exhibit disturbing behavior. Her mother, at a loss, turns to medical science, which fails to provide any answers. Desperate, she seeks the help of a priest, Father Marin, who recognizes that something much darker is at play.
Oh boy, that was very dramatic. Yeah, been there. Just a young girl exhibiting disturbing behavior.
Dark.
Okay. Very dark. Yeah. So obviously, if you are watching this and if you're familiar with us, you're probably somebody who's already seen this film.
Oh, for sure. I think that a lot of folks that we know and follow us are absolute horror fans. So,
yeah. So this is the king of horror movies, or the queen.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to give a quick recap because every time we watch it, we discover something new too.
Yeah.
So it's important to understand just how much of a cultural phenomenon this film was. Imagine lines wrapped around the block, audiences reportedly fainting or vomiting from fright. This wasn't just a horror movie, it was an experience. The film pushed boundaries, ignited controversies, and changed horror cinema forever. It wasn't just about scaring people, it tapped into deeply rooted fears of the unknown and supernatural.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, this film, by today's standards, would seem rather tame. I don't know.
I don't think so.
I still experience a very visceral reaction to it. I mean, laughing because it's just so over the top.
It's funny.
Yeah, but still, no less, there are moments where you're still kind of like, wow, that's really effed up.
Oh my God, Reagan with the cross.
Yeah, and the foul things that she expels.
And she's so cute.
Yeah.
It's very disturbing. And to me, the medical scenes are the most disturbing. Those needles come out, I cannot look at the screen.
Oh, yeah.
Horrifying.
Yeah.
The Exorcist is also unique in its approach to religious themes, especially for the time. Many horror films flirt with the idea of the supernatural, but this film and the real stories that inspired it gave audiences a visceral, terrifying portrayal of the battle between good and evil. Who's good, who's evil, who's to say?
We don't know.
We got rid of Burt Dennings, which was Burke. Was it Burke? Anyway, not my favorite character. This is where we meet our friend and yours, Pazuzu, the demon that possesses Reagan and serves as the film's primary antagonist.
Yeah. The Exorcist didn't just capture the attention of mainstream audiences. It sparked a global conversation about the nature of evil, the role of religion, and the boundaries of horror cinema. This was a time when films were rarely this explicit about the horrors of possession, and The Exorcist didn't shy away from graphic scenes or complex questions.
Did not.
No, they did not. The use of disturbing special effects such as Reagan's levitation, her infamous head rotation, the unsettling makeup, pushed the audiences to their limits. It was groundbreaking, not just because it was terrifying. Oh no, because it brought a sense of realism to supernatural horror, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody, it was open season on all of us. Hence the outfit.
Just in case.
Just in case.
He did go to Catholic school, so I think you're semi-certified, right?
Yeah. Drop a comment below. Let us know your experiences with demon possession.
Please do. If you do have some experiences with demon possession, we'd love to hear about them.
Yeah, we'd love to hear.
Yeah. My father, when I was growing up, used to listen to some talk show, I guess, Bob Larson's cult. I don't know what it was, but it was basically people calling in and talking about being possessed by demons. Gee, I don't know why I was scarred.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was scarred. Who, what child shouldn't hear that? Well, no wonder I'm interested in this stuff when you think about it.
Yeah. And piggybacking off of the no bad press is bad press.
No, right.
Right? The controversy surrounding The Exorcist also fueled its popularity. No shock there. Religious groups protested outside theaters, claiming that the film glorified evil. I don't know which part of that.
Had they seen it?
Yeah. Well, here we go. While others
Right.
believe that merely watching the film or this podcast could open one up to spiritual attacks. Reports of fainting, panic attacks, and even alleged cases of possession during screenings made headlines. It became a cultural phenomenon. Because of this, audiences weren't just seeing a horror movie. They were part of an event that crossed into cultural and even spiritual realms. This public reaction only added to the film's mystique and made it a must-see experience, which, by the way, is the second most popular holiday movie behind the Titanic.
Would you look at that?
Yeah, because it came right after Christmas, 1973.
That was a bold move.
Oh, yeah.
To release this right after Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Beyond the sensationalism, The Exorcist offered a serious exploration of faith and doubt. Characters like Father Karras struggle with their own beliefs in the face of an evil that defies scientific explanation. It's a nuanced portrayal that addresses the fear many people have. What if something dark and incomprehensible truly exists? And this is where Pazuzu enters, not as a named character, but as the malevolent force behind Reagan's transformation, representing the unknown, ancient terror that has no place in the rational world.
I feel like a reality show coming on, like a transformation video, but like demonic edition.
Yeah, right? Before and after.
It's important to mention that the name of the ancient demon Pazuzu is never actually mentioned in the film, and it's only mentioned once in the book. However, the demon possessing Reagan is symbolically tied to Pazuzu in the film, primarily through visual cues such as the statues that you see, especially with Father Marin and him squaring off in that early scene.
Which was an added scene, I believe, in the director's cut. So who exactly is Pazuzu? Who is our friend and yours? To understand Pazuzu, we must go back several thousand years to ancient Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia. Pazuzu is not a modern invention or something conjured from thin air for Hollywood. He is an ancient demon from the Mesopotamian pantheon, particularly associated with the Assyrian and Babylonian cultures. Pazuzu was often depicted with a grotesque face. I know that's not nice to say, but I think it was intentionally that way. A scaly body, talons, and my favorite, a serpentine penis. Yes, he did. That always reminds me of my serpentine. Axl Rose, no?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Embodying many traits of what we consider demonic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now here's where it gets interesting. In ancient Mesopotamian culture, Pazuzu was feared as the bringer of plagues and famine, but he was also considered a protector.
Right. Because the word demon comes from the Greek word daemon, which means spirit. So there's duality.
Right. And what I like about some of these ancient gods and demons, as we would call them now, is they were multifaceted. It wasn't a clear-cut case of good versus evil. Yeah. Pazuzu was a protector, but he was also a demon who brought plagues and famine. He was a wind demon, but sometimes he could also protect. People believed that by invoking Pazuzu, they could keep away other demons, especially his main rival, his girl, Lamashtu, who threatened pregnant women and infants. Wow. Essentially, Pazuzu was seen as a lesser evil who could protect against something worse. This paradoxical role, protector and destroyer, makes him a fascinating figure and a compelling choice as a demonic antagonist in a story like The Exorcist. Now, I feel that we don't really get that duality in the film.
Oh, no, it just kind of throws it all out the window.
Right.
He's having a rotten day and just going all out on Reagan.
I feel like Lamashtu would actually support what he was doing here, because if she was going after children...
Yeah. She's like, look, I told you he's no good.
Right. I told you.
Yeah.
I told you them kids. Go after her. You know, so she might have been working with him in the film.
Well, we don't know.
Well, we don't know.
So how did Pazuzu end up the dark force behind one of the most iconic horror films of all time.
That was very dramatic.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
No, of course. William Peter Blatty, who wrote the novel that inspired The Exorcist, understood that grounding the story in historical and religious authenticity would make it more unsettling. Instead of creating a fictional demon, Blatty chose to reference Pazuzu, a figure who actually existed in the ancient world. This choice was not random. Blatty was deeply interested in religion and spirituality and recognized the power of connecting horror in his story to the things that were real. By invoking Pazuzu, he wasn't just creating a character, he was tapping into a reservoir of ancient fear that feels more tangible and immediate.
So during the 1970s, the Western world experienced a cultural fascination with the occult, mysticism, and non-traditional spiritual practices, kind of similar like what we're experiencing in these current times. Films like Rosemary's Baby, my personal favorite, The Omen, and The Exorcist tapped into this fascination, reflecting society's growing interest in and fear of the supernatural. People were questioning established religious structures, and horror films were uniquely positioned to explore these doubts. The occult wasn't just a narrative device, it became a vehicle for grappling with the existential questions about good and evil, life and death, and the limits of human understanding. So we even see that being played out with Father Karras, who is also struggling with his spirituality throughout the film.
Right. And his mother's illness and eventual death.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a very multi-layered film, which I feel like sometimes horror movies are not, which is fine too. I like a slasher. But this one is just, it works on so many different levels.
Yeah.
By rooting The Exorcist in the occult and historical, they crafted a horror story that feels disturbingly plausible. It suggests that what we see in the film isn't just fantasy. It's a reminder of the ancient fear lurking beneath the surface in our modern lives. So, yeah, this movie was horrifying for me as a young person when I first saw it. As a young person, I sound 100 years old when I say that. Maybe I am 100 years old.
We don't
I could
know.
be an immortal being. You don't know.
Yeah. And as for someone who grew up in a Catholic household, loosely might I add, it still scared the crap out of us.
That's the official term.
Yeah, like, there's problems, but like now if Satan's getting involved, things are like next level bad, right? Because you're now going to have to get the priest involved, and it's going to take several hours before we can, exercise this thing out of you.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that watching horror movies would open me up to demonic possession. I did not. It was not a casual religious upbringing for me. I thought Satan was hiding around the corner waiting to pounce at any moment.
He is.
Well, maybe he is. We don't know. But as an adult, that's probably why I was so drawn to things as I got older. The forbidden is always very appealing. And what's more forbidden? But now the problem is I've watched so much horror that it's no longer scary for me.
Right.
But I do kind of miss those days where I was absolutely terrified.
Yeah. I can almost feel Satan like testing me as a child, with like smaller type sins, right? Like, it's okay. You can go ahead and peek at your neighbor's test, and you can grab a couple of answers because you weren't fully prepared that day. It's like the gateway to
you were raised in Catholic school, huh?
Oh yeah. No meat on Fridays. Although you could have fish, but no red meat.
Is that year round?
No, this is during
Lent.
Lent. Yes.
I was always a little jealous of that because, I grew up in the Boston area and everybody was Catholic except for me, it felt like. And everybody got to go to CCD class and everybody did the same things during Lent. And I didn't do any of it. It's kind of sad.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought it would be fun. All the other kids were going.
Yeah. Well, maybe the Catholics found fasting to be too extreme for most people. So they said, well, every Friday, that one day a week, you hold off on having any type of meat.
I remember filet of fish sandwiches being very popular on that day from McDonald's. My friend's mom would get them. Yeah. Is it a cursed film? No. We know it's a great film, but is it a cursed film? The Exorcist production is infamous for an array of eerie and unfortunate events, some of which have fueled its reputation as a cursed film. Here are some of the strangest occurrences during and after its production.
So, number 1, multiple onset injuries and accidents. Both Linda Blair and Ellen Burstyn sustained injuries during filming. Blair injured her back during a stunt where her character is thrown violently out of bed. Burstyn suffered a permanent back injury in a scene where her character is slapped Don't laugh.
It's a funny scene.
And thrown across the room. Nothing funny about that.
Oh my God. Some of these scenes are so funny.
Other cast members experience random accidents or falls, leading some to believe that the production was haunted.
I mean, or they just had a very enthusiastic director who used some very questionable means to get good performances out of the actors. But anyway, you might be able to explain all that away. But explain this. Set destroyed by fire. A mysterious fire broke out on the set one night, destroying most of the interior sets used for the McNeil home. Oddly, is it odd? The only room left intact was Reagan's bedroom. Yes, I said bedroom because I don't know how to pronounce that word correctly. Bedroom. The site of many of the movie's iconic exorcism scenes. This delayed production by 6 weeks and required additional funds to rebuild the sets. Now, what's interesting is when they investigated, it was not an electrical fire. They could not find a reason for this.
Yeah.
Could it have been sabotage now that I'm thinking about it? This was controversial, but maybe it wasn't controversial because people didn't even know it was being made, really.
Right. This was after the fact.
Right.
Right? Yeah. So this is where things get really dark and gruesome.
Oh, my goodness.
Deaths of cast and crew members. This one solidified it for me. I was convinced that the devil himself was involved
this
as
is the one?
a child. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
When we heard that during production, several people associated with the film died, including actors who played characters that met tragic fates in the movie.
Oh, here he is. Burke Dennings,
who played the director.
No, Jack McGowan, who portrayed Burke Dennings.
Oh, right. And Father Karras's mother both died shortly after filming. Additionally, relatives of other cast and crew members died while filming was underway. These deaths added to the ominous atmosphere surrounding the production. So, for me, when I heard that, oh yeah, Satan was there for sure.
I mean, we saw the actor who played Father Merrin being interviewed. And he made the great point that if you're on a set long enough, there's going to be a lot of deaths. Now, as sad as it is that the actress who played Father Karras's mother passed, she didn't appear to be the youngest person, right? And the guy who played Burke Dennings, well, I actually don't know how he died. And I'd be curious to find that out. If you know, please put it in the comments because I should have researched that. But it could have been natural causes. It could have been something that had been building for a while. We really don't know. Now, if somebody had been unfortunately beheaded on set, then I'd be like, okay.
Yeah. You let us know in the comments below what you think.
Sure. Yeah. But I don't know. That one's kind of like, yeah, people die. We're born, we live, we die. And people are going to die eventually during whatever you're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I am a little morbid, but it's true. I think it's very important to acknowledge and accept death. And the fact that we are all born to die.
Okay, well,
as someone great said.
Prove the next point.
Oh, okay. Technical malfunctions. Well, we have those all the time, frankly. But strange technical issues and malfunctions were reported on set. For instance, lighting and camera equipment would fail or work inconsistently without a clear reason. Some crew members felt this was evidence of a supernatural interference. I mean, it could be. And they do say that spirit drains batteries. So,
Yeah. So, real priests and blessings. To calm the cast and crew, the director invited a priest, Reverend Thomas M. King, to bless the set and perform a mass to counteract what they saw as evil energy. This ritual reportedly helped some crew members feel more at ease, although incidents still continued. So, it didn't quite do a good job smudging the place.
Should have brought a witch.
I would have thrown a witch too. I said, "Hey, I'll get everybody in here."
Right. Don't call a priest to do a witch's job. That's what I always say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Audience reactions to the film's release. Okay, this one does nothing for me. After the film's release, reports surfaced of people fainting, vomiting, blah, 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 having panic attacks. I mean, I've had panic attacks watching random TV shows. So I don't think that's an indicator. Some theaters even had ambulances waiting outside to assist audience members who were overwhelmed by the film's content. In some cases, moviegoers were said to have fainted or suffered heart attacks while watching the intense exorcism scenes.
Yeah, I mean, this film was the first of its kind that really pushed things to the extreme. So to elicit that kind of reaction, I mean, that's intense. And like, again, by today's standards, people are probably thinking, why?
But we're talking, is it a cursed film because of it?
You decide.
I don't know. People are very emotional.
Here's something that's interesting in researching this film that I didn't really consider, is Linda Blair's life after the film. So Blair, only 14 at the time, faced massive backlash and threats from religious groups who saw this film as promoting satanic influences.
That is so funny that they said this promoted Satan. It was so clearly not.
Yeah, if anything, it was a great recruiting tool
Yes.
for the Catholic Church. I would have been like, hey, I'm leaving the movie theater right now and heading down to go talk to my priest.
Yeah, 2 priests died to save that little girl.
Yeah. So she reportedly had to have bodyguards for a period. After the release, due to harassment, her career and personal life were affected, with people questioning if she had been affected by playing the possessed Reagan. I mean, I would say yeah, because I'm not really sure afterwards if people were willing to hire her because they were going to remember her as the child that was possessed.
She wasn't affected by demons afterwards. She was affected by humans who are the worst demons
that we know of.
Oh my goodness. She seems like such a nice person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And such a good actress and such a sweet kid. I feel so bad for her after reading that. Oh. Friedkin himself added to the tension on set with his extreme methods to get authentic performances. For example, he fired off a gun to startle actors or shook the bed forcibly to add realism to Reagan's possession scenes. While not supernatural, Friedkin's unpredictable methods added to the film's chaotic energy. Yeah, you think? He got the performances, though, and I think that's what matters.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished.
For sure.
These strange events during and after the making of The Exorcist contributed to its status as one of Hollywood's most cursed productions, deepening the eerie allure surrounding both the movie and the legends it portrayed. Now, I wonder if we were to look at other movies that are not related to the occult, how many people died on those sets? How many accidents happened on those sets? Do you think people don't get hurt during like Marvel movies with all the stunts that they do?
Perhaps. Perhaps.
But director William Friedkin might disagree with me. He told the horror magazine Castle of Frankenstein in 1974, "I'm not a convert to the occult, but after all I've seen on this film, I definitely believe in demonic possession. There are things that cannot be treated by medical or psychiatric means. It seems strange, foreign, and impossible, but it exists. We were plagued by strange and sinister things from the beginning." Yeah, one of which being him shooting guns off at people. Anyway.
Details.
"It is simply the hardest thing I've ever done in my life." Oh, it was hard for you.
Yeah.
He was throwing little girls around. He threw around Chris McNeil, the mom, hurt her back permanently.
Yeah.
But she doesn't seem to hold a grudge. And I actually admire her for that. She is a real artist who said, you know what? He got the performance out of me. He made a spectacular piece of art. In the end, maybe it was worth it for her.
Yeah. Well, I mean, little fun fact, but this film ranks as the second most popular holiday film behind the Titanic.
Yeah. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Titanic, but that was not my favorite movie.
No, but I thought that was interesting to hear because I wasn't, this isn't necessarily like my specialty, but as we began researching the film, I thought that was a very interesting thing to hear.
We learned a lot, and it's amazing how much you still have to learn about these films, even when you've seen them a million times.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be a fun journey for us.
Absolutely.
And I hope it's a fun journey for you too, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments below what you think The Exorcist means to you and where you rank it in your top 5 or top 10 favorite movies.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be on everybody's top 5.
I would think. Easily top 3.
Yeah.
I mean, still to this day, this film still holds up. It still packs a punch.
And we don't know how this podcast is going to evolve or where we're going to land ultimately, but we're going to keep at it.
Yeah.
We're going to keep getting better at it.
Yeah.
And we hope you join us, and we hope that you will meet us again at the Midnight Gathering. Until next time, stay spooky.